What's up, guys? In the Caribbean Sea, a happy family is enjoying a wonderful vacation on a yacht. The mother, Julia, jumps into the water to swim, but while trying to relax, she feels something strange. However, since she can't see anything around her, she blames her own imagination. Seconds later, the strange sensation returns. She still sees nothing, but this worries her, and she starts swimming back to the yacht. Suddenly, something starts pulling her leg, and she screams desperately for help. Her daughter, Kessie, doesn't hear her because she is wearing headphones, while her husband Tom and son Ben are busy fishing. Julia continues struggling to stay afloat, and screaming becomes harder because of the water entering her mouth. Soon, Tom realizes he hasn't seen Julia for a while, and searches the yacht until he finally spots his wife in danger. After calling the children, Tom brings the yacht closer to Julia and jumps into the water. He quickly reaches his wife, hugging her to keep her floating. He swims back to the yacht, and the kids help them climb aboard. The family comforts Julia, who doesn't know what happened and blames a current. That night, the family celebrates Ben's birthday with gifts and a cake. Kessie receives a call from her boyfriend, so she leaves with a laptop to talk in private. He shows her that massive storm clouds have appeared over the city just before the video call fails and freezes. Kessie runs back to her family to tell them what happened, and Tom attributes it to being too far from land to get a good signal. At that moment, they hear a noise and go out to discover a pod of whales passing by. Tom explains that whales follow Earth's magnetic field, but when storms cause abnormalities, the confused whales follow the storms toward the coast. Suddenly, the yacht shakes, causing Ben to fall. Tom is worried something might have damaged the yacht, so he dives in to take a closer look. After a few seconds of searching, Tom emerges with a cut on his shoulder. Julia sutures the wound while Tom explains he felt something behind him, and when he turned, he was cut by the propeller. Whatever was swimming near him was very big, but he couldn't see it. What Tom found was severe damage to the yacht, so they need to call for help. Julia repeatedly tries the yacht's radio while Kessie keeps searching for a signal on her phone without success. Suddenly, she gets scared by a strange creature, but it is just Ben playing a prank with a mask. Eventually, the yacht stops working and is left drifting in the middle of the sea. Julia finds a voice on the radio, but it is all amidst a distinct noise. Tom says they have enough food and water for 4 days, so they will have to wait for a fishing boat to pass. Suddenly, the radar detects something nearby and the family hears a strange noise. They run outside and are shocked to see several meteorites falling to Earth, causing huge impacts upon collision. One meteorite crashes into the water nearby, so Tom runs to force the yacht to move again. As the engine struggles to move forward, another meteorite falls and hits the area. The family hugs each other in fear, and Tom realizes the fireballs aren't meteorites, they are satellites. Then Ben points to smoke coming from the yacht. Tom takes a look and confirms the engine is fried. The wind starts picking up, so the family hides inside, unaware that the compass is going crazy. The yacht starts shaking, and Ben falls again, hurting himself in the process. As the waves crash against the yacht, Tom fights the wind to grab life jackets from a box outside and brings them to the family. At that moment, the power goes out, so Tom moves fast to press a button on the breaker box. When the lights come back on, Ben notices Julia's nose is bleeding. As Julia starts getting dizzy, Kessie runs to the sink to vomit. Tom keeps trying the radio without success. Suddenly, the family hears a high-pitched noise, and the wind gets worse. Julia tries to keep the doors closed. However, a hatch still opens, and soon the wind is smashing the windows. Tom lights a flare before darkness takes over. The next morning, the family wakes up in shock, realizing they survived the storm. Although the yacht is mostly destroyed, the family goes outside only to discover that all the world's oceans have disappeared, and now the yacht is stuck on dry land. After staring at the desert in shock, the family tries to think of what to do. Kessie searches for a signal, but nothing happens, and Ben plays with 2 dead crabs. Tom checks the compass and realizes the poles have reversed. The last time this happened was over 700,000 years ago. Kessie collapses when she realizes her boyfriend must be dead and runs to hide, pushing her mother away when she tries to comfort her. While Julia and Tom check what supplies survived the disaster, Ben ties his birthday balloons to a rock to hopefully catch the attention of other survivors. Next, Tom tries the radio again and contacts a man named Nal, the captain of a submarine. His vessel also got stuck on land, and he confirms the magnetic poles reversed, causing the ocean to recede and submerge the continents. Nal hasn't found other survivors and says most communication systems are down. Since there are occasional seismic movements, he concluded the poles will reverse again, and the seas might return in a week. Nall advises the family to climb as high as possible because things will get violent when that happens. His partner died during the accident, and the submarine has space for 3 people. Julia and Tom convince him to save their children, so he gives them his coordinates. Tom calculates it will take 2 to 3 days to find the submarine, so he tells the family to get a good night's sleep because they will leave early tomorrow. The next morning, the family is packing their supplies when Tom sees something moving nearby. It is a limping man with a makeshift harpoon and a dog that won't stop barking. Tom approaches him and gives him a bottle of water, but he can't understand the man's language. After drinking, the stranger hits Tom with the bottle and kicks him in the face. A terrified Julia comes running, but it is too late. The guy is already stabbing Tom in the stomach with a harpoon. Tom's body twitches for a few seconds before the guy slits his throat too. Next, the man starts chasing Julia and even throws the harpoon, which only cuts her shoulder. This doesn't stop Julia from running to the yacht and going to her children, telling them to hide while she locks the doors. The siblings get inside the sofa, and Julia gives them the flare gun before grabbing a knife and hiding in the bathroom. The man bangs on the door until he manages to open it and invades the place. He grabs some food and starts searching the yacht, eventually going to the bathroom. Julia manages to avoid him by climbing through a hole in the wall. The guy looks outside and doesn't see her, but when Julia tries to sneak away, the dog starts barking at her. Suddenly, it knocks her to the ground, leaving Julia no choice but to kill it with the knife. The stranger hears the dog whimper and goes out to find its body, which makes him have a breakdown. Meanwhile, Julia goes around the yacht and climbs to the top so she can get back inside through the broken window. Unfortunately, the man finds her first and knocks her down with a punch. Julia grabs onto the furniture while he tries to drag her away, and in the struggle she manages to kick him away. So, the guy steps on her wrist to make her drop the knife. He grabs her by the hair and slams her face into the floor before throwing her onto the sofa to start choking her. The children are watching everything and can't take it anymore. So, Kessie comes out and shoots the man with a flare. The fire immediately starts spreading through the yacht. So, the children flee, but Julia goes back to kick the man in the face and grab the map with the coordinates plus their bags. Ben and Kessie cling to their father's body, and soon Julia joins them so everyone can say goodbye together in tears. At that moment, the scary man gets out of the yacht. So the family starts running away while the yacht explodes in a huge blast. Sometime later, the family stops at a small waterfall to rest. Kessie wonders if the crazy man came to them because of the balloons, which makes Ben feel guilty. Julia assures her son it wasn't his fault and asks the family to keep walking, as the stranger is still following them. At a small lake, Ben is fascinated by the body of a hammerhead shark. At that moment, Julia sees the man about to catch up to them. So the family starts running again. They go down a dune and discover a pile of toxic waste, so they have to run around it carefully. Moments later, it seems they lost their pursuer. As they continue to travel, they keep seeing other things stuck in the ground, like large dead sea animals and all the plastic from the ocean floor. When Ben starts to slow down, Julia realizes he is on the verge of dehydration and stops so everyone can rest. To her horror, the water bottle is almost empty, and Kessie realizes she must not have closed it tightly. Julia yells at her for being careless, but Kessie says it doesn't matter because there is no way they will survive this anyway. After a long argument filled with screaming, the family moves on. Eventually, the group finds a crashed plane and gets scared by sudden movement. But it is just birds. The family decides they will spend the night inside the plane. They share a snack, and Julia is heartbroken to find a family photo inside Tom's jacket. Kessie asks for the story of how her parents met. So Julia shares how Tom went to the hospital where she worked and became her patient. He declared his love for her with flowers and a beautiful poem. In the middle of the night, Kessie leaves the plane to relieve herself. Suddenly, the scary man surprises her from behind, but Julia jumps on him first and stabs him repeatedly with unbridled grief and rage. Kessie has to help her calm down with a hug. The next morning, the body is covered in fleas. The family notices there are many bite marks, so there must be some animal hiding in the area. After the group leaves, a bunch of crabs come out of the man's mouth. A few hours later, Julia and Kessie stop to look at the map, but Ben just keeps walking. Even when Julia tells him to stop, he desperately buries his face in a puddle to drink, and Julia quickly pulls him back, explaining that unknown water can make him sick. The family continues traveling and has to cover their heads to protect themselves from the scorching sun. Ben is starting to feel dizzy. So, when they discover a pile of old chairs, Julia and Kessie use them to improvise a shelter. Julia gives Ben a shot of medicine, and they agree to spend the night there. Early in the morning, Julia wakes up because there was a strange sound. She goes out of the shelter to investigate and is shocked to discover a swarm of crabs approaching. Julia runs to wake her children, and the family starts running as fast as possible. They come across a massive cargo ship and run toward it, realizing that 3 crew members are still alive. The woman wants to help them, but the 2 men refuse, and the group hides inside a container which they lock to keep the family out. The crabs are almost there, so Julia makes the children climb on top of the container. When she starts climbing too, the crabs begin to violently nip at her leg. The siblings have to help their mother climb up before she is dragged down. There is a hole in the side of the container, so half the crabs get in. The crew members open fire, but there are too many creatures. Soon the crabs overpower and kill 2 of the workers. The last man reaches a hole in the roof only for the crabs to pull him down and kill him too. Afterwards, Julia bandages her leg wound and passes out. Sometime later, she wakes up in a sandstorm and finds herself alone. She panics as she climbs down to look for her children, although first she grabs the dead woman's gun. Hearing her mother scream, Kessie quickly comes back and explains they went to look for help, but didn't find anyone. Then they reunite with Ben, who found an open container where they can rest until the storm passes. Julia uses Tom's lighter to cauterize the wounds, which is incredibly painful. Once the storm passes, the family finds a bunch of water bottles in another container. Next, they check the bodies and discover a radio and a gun. Julia calls Nal and informs him she lost the map. In return, Nal reveals he was attacked by arthropods, which are creatures from the abyss. It seems the oxygen drove them crazy. Nal tells the family to hurry because his instruments calculated that the sea will return faster than expected, so they only have a few hours. He fires a flare, and the family starts walking in that direction. After a long walk, the family finds a broken toilet, and Ben pees in it. They can finally see the submarine nearby, but they will have to cross a huge rock formation to reach it. As they make their way, the walls start to shake and rocks begin to fall, causing a massive landslide. Julia pushes her children out of the way just in time and retreats to avoid being crushed. Now there is a rock wall blocking the path between them. Julia tells the kids to go on without her, but Kessie refuses and insists her mother try to climb. An argument begins, and after a lot of screaming, Julia promises she will find her children later. A reluctant Kessie then finally drags her brother. The children climb the rest of the rock formation and run toward the submarine only to find Nal bleeding outside. He explains it's over for him, so the children can take the submarine. Realizing they will have an extra seat, Kessie runs back to find her mother. Meanwhile, Julia is horrified to see the crabs arriving and opens fire. She manages to kill some of them, but the swarm is too big, and she can't fight them all. At that moment, Kessie appears at the top of the wall and offers her hand. So, Julia starts climbing as fast as possible with her injured leg. With Kessie's help, she reaches the other side, and they run together to the submarine. Ben is already on the roof and opens fire to keep the crabs distracted while his family climbs up too. The crabs find Nal's body and immediately devour him. Julia grabs the gun and keeps shooting while getting the children inside. Once they are safe, she realizes she is out of bullets. So she throws the gun at the crabs and joins her children inside. The family makes sure to lock the hatch correctly and watches the crabs surround the submarine through the windows. At that moment, the Ocean finally returns. So the trio runs to their seats and buckles up before holding hands. The raging waves soon hit the submarine and start tossing it from side to side, causing Julia to have visions of everything that happened and want to vomit. Soon the high-pitched noise returns and knocks the family out. Sometime later, Julia and the children wake up and are happy to confirm they are alive. They unlock the hatch and go out to discover that the waves took the submarine to a destroyed city, which means there is hope to survive and rebuild. Ending like this, SURVIVRE, drama, and thriller movie from 2024. And I'll see you in the next video. This was the summary of full-length films. Thanks. Peace out.